When you think of the armed forces, it's easy to imagine a ton of strict regulations and guidelines. After all, the people who defend the world go into some pretty dangerous situations, and the last thing they need to worry about is a rash that won't heal. So, understandably, military hygiene rules are pretty exacting. And we're not just talking about brushing your teeth. From how to properly trim facial hair to dealing with local wildlife, hygiene in the military is a pretty serious thing. What's weird is just how specific some of these guidelines can get. It's like they gathered a bunch of generals in a room and made a list of all the little things they've seen soldiers do, then tried to make a guide to prevent all of it. So, whether you've seen these rules in action or you're just curious, here are 19 weird military hygiene regulations. 1. Sleep like your life depends on it. Soldiers must keep up with their food, water, and ammunition needs. But sleep is just as important, to the point where leadership insists you get at least 7 hours of sleep each day. According to the United States Army Training and Doctrine Command, TRADOC, sleep is best viewed as a critical item of resupply like water, food, fuel, and ammunition. The longer a soldier goes without sleep, the more their thinking slows and becomes confused, and the more mistakes they will make. Leaders need to plan adequate sleep for themselves and their soldiers in training and tactical environments. 2. Use absorbent body powder like it's going out of style. Moisture can cause infections, bad smells, and any number of health problems. So, the Army encourages the application of body powder to areas where wetness is a problem, such as underarms, between the thighs and buttocks, and for women, under the breasts. 3. When in doubt, urinate as much as possible. Dehydration is a serious threat out in the field. To make matters worse, some troops tend to hold it in when they have to urinate. That combined with drinking less water sets the stage for a variety of infections. So, the order of the day is to drink and urinate as much as possible. 4. You need to get regular haircuts. It's a staple of modern service organizations to prescribe short, neat hairstyles, but how do they maintain that fresh look? Different outfits have different rules, but the standard requires you to get extremely specific haircuts, although in recent years they have made some noteworthy exceptions. 5. Wash your hands after pretty much everything. In order to stop the spread of disease, one hygiene manual states you need to wash your hands before eating or snacking, after eating or snacking, before handling or preparing food, after using the latrine, after handling anything that could potentially transfer germs, frequently during the workday to keep your hands free of germs, after coming into contact with any local flora or fauna, after physical contact with local nationals. We just hope there's enough soap. 6. Wearing cologne or perfume in the field is pretty much forbidden. While it seems strange that anyone would wear fragrances during operations, the practice is banned regardless. They may draw more attention from the insects than any potential romantic interest. Scented soaps are also highly discouraged. 7. No cosmetics allowed in the field. Everyone likes to look their best, but cosmetics just aren't permissible when you're on deployment. We suppose when you're constantly moving and every pound counts, they don't want you taking up valuable space with something that won't help you do your job. Plus, anyone who's slept in their makeup knows it can be a pain. 8. You're encouraged to play sports for health. Exercise is important for physical effectiveness and morale. But you can only do so many push-ups in the field before you get downright sick of it. So, unit leaders are strongly encouraged to give sports equipment to their personnel so they can play some friendly team-based games. 9. Hauling poop away is better than burning it. The Army is incredibly strict about how it deals with human waste. After all, improperly handled feces can cause rampant disease, which is why they have several plans for disposing of it. In the past, it was burned, but present regulations call for transporting it back to the garrison or even using contractors to remove it. 10. If you can, try to avoid noise. The Army wants its people in high-intensity noise areas only for the time required to perform critical tasks. So, you're only allowed play your music too loudly as long as strictly necessary. 11. If you're menstruating, you better have a full canteen of water. Menstruating in the field can be challenging, especially when you don't have a shower on hand. That's why many branches advise you to clean the area with soap and water, or even baby wipes. 12. Animal mascots may not be kept. Everyone loves pets. Having an animal companion to curl up with just tends to make things better unless you're in the field. In order to stop the possible spread of disease or attracting unwanted animals, the military doesn't allow you to keep animal mascots. So, as much as you love your friend Gary the rat, you're going to have to leave him where you found him. 13. If it's super cold, you can't wear facial camo. Combatants and camouflage go together like peanut butter and jelly, they were just made for each other. But sometimes it's more trouble than it's worth. One regulation states you cannot wear facial camo in any weather below -10 degrees Fahrenheit, with wind chill, because the colors make it hard to spot cold weather injuries like frostbite. 14. You may not wear hairnets unless you're cooking. Unless you're cooking up a storm, you are reportedly not allowed to wear a hairnet. We don't know why anyone would want to wear them casually, but it's clear that having a different fashion sense won't excuse you. That order goes for other hair coverings, too. 15. Mustaches are okay, but ditch the beards. In a regulation seemingly written in the 1970s, the only facial hair permitted while in uniform is a neatly trimmed mustache. Even then, there are major restrictions. Mustaches are authorized but shall be kept neatly and closely trimmed. No portion of the mustache shall extend below the lip line of the upper lip. It shall not go beyond a horizontal line extending across the corners of the mouth and no more than a quarter inch beyond a vertical line drawn from the corner of the mouth. The length of an individual mustache hair fully extended shall not exceed approximately half an inch. 16. You're allowed to wear a wig if you're bald. We likely all expected wigs and hairpieces wouldn't be allowed in uniform, but it seems exceptions are made for baldness and certain disfigurements. Of course, there are limits. The wig in question has to conform to their haircut criteria. So much for adding a little flair. 17. You can have cornrows, but there's a catch. The traditional close-cropped hairstyles remain in effect, but they're starting to take modern styles into account. Female soldiers with medium or long hair don't always need to chop it. Instead, braids, cornrows, twists, and even dreadlocks are acceptable options, but the appearance code states they can't interfere with headgear. 18. You may not drink at a bar while in uniform. In 2015, the Army revised its uniform policy to prohibit uniformed service members from entering a bar and drinking alcohol. They can wear their uniforms to establishments that sell food and booze, or into a liquor store to buy a bottle, but must not drink at any establishment where the primary business is the sale of alcohol. 19. Keep your nails clipped. Men are not permitted to let their nails grow beyond the fingertip. Women can grow them a quarter of an inch longer, but that's all. If a commander wants you to cut it short, though, you must obey.